Hey everyone, a nerd named Mark here, and it's time to go over episode 18 of Kamen Rider Geats. My area is still a mess. I'm still trying to organize. I got a lot going on. Didn't think I'd have time to film this video. Very hectic week, but here we are. A lot happened in this episode, but not a lot at the same time. Obviously, we know the DGP is now a reality show, and before I get into some of the things about how they're taking this to the next step to show it as a reality show. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. I am vastly approaching 900 subscribers, and I thank everyone who's been checking out the videos, liking them, and commenting. And I'm curious to see what everyone thinks about this episode, especially after some of the stuff revealed in some certain scenes. And like I hinted at, I said they're showing more of how this is a reality show. They brought in the black room with a single chair with like the characters talking to like a producer about things, and it started with Ace sitting in this black room, and he claims that they asked about his thoughts of the DGP, and he even claimed that the DGP being a reality show was something he expected. So there goes that answer to that question when Daichi claimed that Ace probably knew all along, because he's like, here comes the highlight and this and that. So now I'm like, Ace might have known, because he said he expected it. So I was like, okay. So now we're adding to more. Maybe Ace is the disaster. I thought it was really interesting after the last episode. Now finding out that there's like popularity vote to win, how some of the characters would change their presentation on screen in the episode in the DGP, and we even start out with Keiwa making breakfast for everybody, and everyone brings up this kind of suspicious, why you're making breakfast, and he even talks about how, I used to cook for the kids at the local pantry. And I was like, I mean, he was nice guy Keiwa. This is news to me. So I was like, maybe I hope this isn't a throwaway line at the time when I was watching the episode, because I was like, this couldn't give that sympathy, that nice guy Keiwa those votes, because you're going to vote for someone nice like that. He helps the kids. And our GM comes in and says there's a new OS update for the Spider phone, and now everyone has the ability to vote from their phone who they think the disaster is, and at the end of each round, whoever they vote gets eliminated. So I was like, okay, this is 100% Among Us, and it works. I think it's really intriguing, and even Keiwa objects to this, and he uh if you don't vote, it's a forfeit, so you're eliminated for not voting. So it's like, this is going to really change the dynamic, because now everyone's either going to be pushing other people under the bus, people are going to be acting fake nice. So I was like, okay, the games now are secondary. Now we're just getting more character and interactions with everyone else, which is cool. But I kind of liked the first 16 episodes when they were playing just a straight up game for points and winning. But obviously, I even mentioned in earlier reviews, that couldn't last for a whole season. They had to have a twist, and this is our twist. So we see our gardener, and he's talking to the Jamatonoid, that I'm calling it now, because it's a Jamato and it's humanoid, and that's what I'm calling it. And he says, because he's in his DGP outfit, Shiroi, and he's like, how long are you gonna stay in that outfit? And he just looks over and sees overalls and this and that, and instantly morphs his appearance into the overalls. So I'm like, so he can change his appearance. Is it just clothes? I know he can go back and forth between Jamato form and human form, which we saw in this episode, but I was like, can he just change his other form too? Or does he always have to look like that? Like, I'm curious so much about these Jamato now. This has been my main focus. I know about like pocket dimensions and the supporters and this and that were brought to the forefront last episode, but I'm just like, I want more about the Jamato. And, um, you know, we find out that Keiwa wasn't just bringing this up because he goes to his local pantry where the kids are eating and sees them and this and that. And I'm like, this is definitely a way he's going to boost his popularity, because at 1%, that's kind of sad. Obviously, Jamato show up. This is the Keiwa episode. And Azuma. There's some Azuma stuff I'm going to get to, because Keiwa needs to protect these kids. And, he runs outside and he henshins. Even the kids see this and they're like, Keiwa transformed. That's so cool. This and that. I'm like, you get the kids on board. That genius if this is actually on purpose and not accidental. And the Jamato, this is, we see a Jamato throw a ball through floating rings, and we find out the game is basically basketball. It's Jamato team versus the Rider team. And I was like, okay. A lot of the stuff we saw while the game was first being played, a lot of good camera cuts, a lot of long angle, a lot of panning. I love the filming style of this season, that and the style that they started with Revice and a little bit in Saber, but more Revice than anything. So obviously, I'm going to be really like just loving these scenes, especially seeing how they're avoiding the Jamato riders, scoring themselves, because we saw Lopo get a score. It only got 3 points. And we find out the range in which, just like in basketball, you got the 2 point line, the 3 point line, or the 2 point area and the 3 point line. It's 3 points and 5 points. So now it's getting really intriguing with, now they have to, scoring all the points, but we also have this other plot that's pushing forward with Kawa, because a Jamato rider's outside of the pantry. Kawa goes to try and stop him to protect the building, and once again the Jamato, uh, that used to be Shiro, says his line about how he used to be a firefighter, and Kawa has the flashback, and he freezes, and this allows the Jamato to score. And the whole entire time, Daichi is watching this, and he questions what exactly is going on with Kawa. And they're passing goals between each other, this and that, and Kawa hesitates again, and he scores as Kawa kind of snaps out of it and tries to stop it. So they're really pushing. Kawa has this knowledge because no one else has been directly near him to hear the Jamato speak. So from the outside perspective, he's being suspicious, and this obviously is not going to help the voting for him. Um, we see Kawa, ushering the kids to go back inside the building because the barrier is like right there, and their parents are right out there. Ace is on the building watching, and Jean shows up, and instantly I'm like, what? They could just go into the Jamato area, and Ace even brings that up because Jean once again asks, if Ace is sitting there thinking about his mom, and he even says he did some digging, and Ace's mother's name is actually Ukyo Mika, and he says that it's weird because Ace is looking for an ex-navigator named Mitsumi, and I'm gonna say this: his tablet covered in Geats stickers and this and that. He's definitely a super fan, and he's even, like I said, he questions like, how are you in the Jamato game area? Like, just who is the audience and the people who are watching this? And he says we're tourists traveling through dimensions. So that's kind of like our seed planted, because we're not going to get any more information about this, obviously, because this isn't, um, you know, pertinent to the story that's being presented to us right now. It's who's this traitor, who's suspicious. That's the main focus. Is all the while Kawa and the Jamato situation. So we get to see more interactions and see, this is where I'm like, okay, who is really being genuine? Because Nan asks Say to teach her basketball at sports because she is the star athlete, and Nan's acting all, you know, little sistery and this and that. And I'm like, okay, this could be, uh, a ploy. Then we got Daichi, who's talking to Kawa, asking what's going on with him, and Kawa informs him that the Jamato are speaking in quotes of previously eliminated contestants. Daichi is curious about this, but says this knowledge is bad for team morale and that they should keep it a secret. And I'm like, okay, this is also very suspicious, which plays into something that happens later on. But we have some of the best scenes of the episode that really carried it forward. The gardener is talking to Rook, and he says he saved his fellow Jamato, and Rook says, saving Jamato, that's my mission. But all this time, Azuma's been watching, observing everything. He's walking around. He finds a little garden tray that has his cracked ID core. It is his desire driver. And a Jamato rider starts walking up, and he starts trying to henshin, which is some of the best scenes. He's trying to henshin it. You see the electricity and the feedback. It's not working. He slams his fists into it, and he henshins into entry form Buffa. And he's fighting the Jamato. They're in a forest now. And I'm like, okay, I didn't see him in a forest before. And the fight sequence was really good. He gets him in an arm bar and snaps the Jamato's arm. And he ultimately destroys it, and he sees the Jamato buckle. And I'm like, he's not going to try and use this, is he? As two more Jamato approach, he literally henshins with it. You can hear him yelling in pain and everything else. I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. And it leads to him using the vines and this and that to destroy the other two Jamato. He gets the Jamato rider like chess piece, but he still has the buffa helmet. And I'm like, this is great. This is one of the best episodes, like scenes of the whole entire episode. And as he's walking, he dehensions after, and as he's walking out of the forest, he oversees a city that's overgrown in vines and overgrowth and this and that. And even the gardener's watching him secretly, and he's like, "Oh wow, oh boy, you really don't belong anywhere, do you?" But the thing about the city is, I'm like, if contestants are eliminated and they go to this area, this void, I'm gonna call it the Jamato Void. Is that the city that was a part of the kick the can monster that failed to win? Because where would a whole game area go when it's destroyed? So that's my theory, anyways. Um, but this episode, that was all we really got, honestly. And I'm just like, man, I want more. But that was some of my favorite scenes of the episode. It finally pushed this narrative a little bit forward without giving us a lot of information. Like, how could he henshin if he's like with a cracked ID core? Like, what is going on with Azuma? What is he technically? Um, a lot of this episode took place in the lounge because we're back in the lounge, and Daichi says he figured out who the traitor is, and it's Keiwa. And he's using this knowledge from Keiwa's conversation against him because Keiwa even objects and says, "Listen, I told you, they were talking and this and that." And he's like, "I don't remember you saying any of this. This is news to me." And then even Sei chimes in, "Yeah, you were acting strange. You didn't attack the Jamato." And I was like, man, they really are, going after Keiwa. Even Keiwa pleads with Ace, and Ace even says, "Well, that trick you pulled on Jirori, that was a good one." So Daichi actually takes his ninja buckle, and the GM shows up, says it's time for interim voting, and we see a frog statue again. We saw one earlier, but this time it's talking, and it says that not having a buckle is not good, and he's going to give Keiwa a secret mission that suits him. As Gene shows up, it says he can't have that happen, and calls him Kekara, and says, like, if Keiwa is a disaster or disease star or the traitor, then he can't have him getting the upper hand. He wants to protect Ace. And we saw the interim voting, and out of the 5 participants, Keiwa has 3 votes against him. And I'm like, but it doesn't say who voted, which I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, man, this is not looking good for Keiwa at all. Like, I was like, damn. Like, but I don't think Keiwa's going to get eliminated. I think something's going to happen. I'm starting to think Daichi is the traitor, and because he's being super suspicious right now. So from a presentation as a viewer standpoint, Daichi definitely seems the most likely to be the one. So now we see the second half starting up. Daichi says to watch out for the traitor, and all of them basically are voting Keiwa. And we saw a really cool scene where Daichi blocked a shot, and the ball went to crash into the pantry, and Keiwa stopped it and protected the kids by lifting up, the ceiling. And that was the secret mission. And he got the command buckle. So I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna get. We're gonna get Keiwa in the command buckle, just destroying everything. That's what I want to see. Good guy Keiwa. So he has it fully charged up really quickly, oddly enough. I thought, when it was first introduced, they had to fight a lot to charge it up. He only did like 1 or 2 attacks, and that was it. So he's fully charged up. He's about to defeat this Jamato boss, and it turns into the humanoid form for Shiroi. And Keiwa is shocked and stops. Daichi shows up, starts attacking it. Keiwa's trying to stop it and attacks Daichi slightly, and he dehensions as everyone's looking on. And then everyone's just like, what the hell's going on? What is he doing? And then we get the end. That's it. We get our new DGP rule. Obviously, the DGP rules always match the theme of the episode. Players can vote on who they think is the disaster. At the end of the round, the most voted player is eliminated. Okay, the buffa stuff really carried this episode. Like, that was the best parts of it. I do like that we're getting Keiwa shown in the forefront, and he doesn't seem like he did in episode 17, where he's kind of like an idiot and like just getting crapped on. Like, it's showing good guy Keiwa. He's in the forefront. This show is back to being called Kamen Rider Tycoon again. The buffa stuff was great. I'm really intrigued. That has me the most intrigued right now, as well as the supporters, because it's a frog statue in a pinstripe suit with a bowl of oranges just watching Keiwa, and that's his supporter. And I'm like, that's kind of on brand for Keiwa when you think about it, but I want to see them interact with each other, because that's going to be hilarious. And I'm curious who else has supporters. But yeah, I think Daichi right now is probably the traitor. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Uh, other than the some of the Kawa stuff and the Asuma stuff, this episode wasn't the best. But then again, this new like arc just started. We're only a couple episodes in, so it's kind of like it's got to catch its footing. I'm still getting used to it, the new style of DGP. Whereas for 16 episodes, we got this game and it was very action heavy, and it was really like the show's not bad. It hasn't gotten worse. It's just getting used to the new pacing of the show because it's not. It doesn't feel the same. It feels like it's a different. Well, it's a different arc. Obviously, it just feels like it's a different show. Let me know in the comments below what you think, though. Who do you think is the traitor? What do you think is going on with Azuma? And do you think that area, that city he saw, do you think that's the defeated city from that got destroyed? Because that's my theory. That's what I think it is. And I think it's kind of obvious. But with that being said, I thank you guys for watching. Don't forget the subscribe button. I appreciate each and every one of you who's been checking out the videos. With that being said, that's it for my review of episode 18 of Kamen Rider Geats. And I'll see you guys in the next one.